Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Wyman Grover. I'm a writer and a tarot enthusiast. I write under the name S.L. Wyman. And welcome to S.L. Wyman's Rock and Writing. This is a channel for pretty much everything nerdy, primarily bookish, writerly, and tarot related, but also obviously music and video games, movies, basic pop culture fun stuff. If this is your first time here, welcome. Appreciate you being here. If you like what you see, please go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you're enjoying it. I would really appreciate it. And if you're a returning person, thank you very much. I really appreciate you and welcome back. I'm actually going to do a real quick VR. Bumped the camera. This is an old hashtag. Probably should have done it sooner, but and this is hashtag my classics. And this is a VR to Danny Mystic, who is one of my favorite people here on Tarot 2. And I've been meaning to do this one for a while. I've just been kind of lazy about wanting to pull out the decks. So, but let's go ahead and get into this. Hopefully we'll have a enjoyable time. So, the point of this tag is basically to pull out decks that you think, not necessarily that are like your favorites or like, your ultimates or anything, but ones that people, if they were to pick them up, might think of you, or ones that are like not just your go-to or ride or dies, but ones that are really, really, that really speak to you and just kind of maybe represent like a little piece of you. Somebody could do this and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Sarah deck, for instance. So, these are my classic Sarah decks, and you guys will probably see why as I go along. First one. I know I've showed it before. A lot of these decks, in fact, I think maybe all of them I've shown before, but that's okay. They're beautiful. They're going to get a little more love today. First one is obviously the very first deck I ever got, and that is my Universal Rider-Waite with the beautiful Celestial, because the blue and gold with the stars, and that is classic me. That is definitely my aesthetic. I friggin' love Celestial themed things, but this puppy, as you can see, big old dip, because this deck has been used so much over the last 25 years. Just, y'all have no idea. This thing is literally, it looks dirty. I've used so much. This one would be, if I were to do that hashtag my disheveled decks, right here, classic. And I won't spend too much time on the imagery, because we all know the Rider-Waite. But for whatever reason, this is the version I love the best. Sorry if they're a little upside down. This is one of the few decks I do read reversals with. And that I riffle shuffle, which that's why it's blood. But yeah, for this one's more of an emotional connection. Could I read with any other just plain old Rider-Waite Smith? Yes. But would I be able to do it as well? If you give me enough time, maybe, but it's not my deck. This will always be my deck, and it's special to me because my mother gifted it to me for a birthday. So I love this deck. This is my baby. It's actually one of the few that actually has its own box that was made by my sister-in-law, and she and my niece painted it and put it together when my niece was very little. So very, very precious to me. Love it. Definitely a Sarah deck. I think the next one I'm going to go for, because I have a couple I want to show side by side for reasons. I think the next one I will go for is my Weaver Tarot, the Journeyman's Edition by Threads of Fate. Journey, my baby, my pastel baby. Most people would not associate this with me, by the way, pretty gold gilding. Just because I don't really pastels are not usually my thing. But this deck, holy crap, is it pretty. I mean, just a little bit, you can see if I had the money, I would have every edition of this deck because I just love the imagery and the way they put together all the Shadow, the Ascendant, and the Rose Gold editions of this in addition to the German. They're so pretty, and I would love to be able to get all of them and the accompanying oracles. Obviously not gonna happen because, this was I saved up for a very long time to get this independently produced. Does not come cheap. So, but that's one of my babies, and it's classic for me because it's one that I had like an instant. I knew this was my deck, and I knew this would be one that people would associate with me because there's just some vibe about it. Even though I am, like I said before, I'm more of a gothy kind of chick, I generally like darker, more gothic, more vampire-y, more like your Victorian gothic romantic kind of theme to a lot of things. For some reason, this one just clicked. And it's the only deck that will never be used for anybody else. This is my deck. So that kind of does make it a classic for me. The next is a classic me deck because for some reason I just want to grab it a lot when it comes to reading for other people, and I've read for so many others with this deck, and it's become a piece of me, and it's become associated with me because I use it a lot for other people, and I'm trying to read more for other people. And may have to tilt it a little bit to see the pretty colors. This is the Luxx Umbra. This is the first edition. And I fell in love with this the moment I saw it on the channel The Hermit's Cave. Simon. Of course, Simon made me do it. Most of us are familiar with Simon from The Hermit's Cave and his wonderful walkthroughs. Watched one of this deck and didn't even finish the walkthrough before I double checked. All my expenses went, okay, we can do this, and click. And totally not sorry because this deck is absolutely stunning, and something about it just resonates. I really wish I could put my finger on exactly what it was, but something about this deck. I clicked buy because I was lucky and fortunate enough to have the money at the time, number one, and number two, it was pretty. I just wanted it for aesthetics. And then when I got it in my hands, something happened. Look at the movement here with the swords. There's something about it. This is not a normal Marseille deck, right? There's something very evocative about it, and the use of color, the use of just imagery, and good old Three of Swords. Yeah. But, it's gorgeous. And it has given such good readings for me and everybody else. Oh, love that card so much. So, that is another classic me deck, if only because it's one that I can turn to reliably for pretty much anything, and I've done it enough times that people are starting to go, yep, I got that deck because you gave me a reading with it and you have it. So that's probably, definitely, I would say a me deck. Now, the next one, I don't think a single one of you will be surprised if you know me at all, or if you've been on my channel at all, even a little bit. It's a Labyrinth Tarot. Because, well, this is my childhood. This is one of my soul decks. This is every connection to happy nostalgia that there could possibly be in my head for me. I am a huge David Bowie fan. Have been since I was a very little girl because of this good chunk because of this movie. And Jim Henson was my childhood. Fraggle Rock, Dark Crystal, all of that. I watched that relentlessly as a kid. My mom's still, basically, if my mother were to associate anything with me whatsoever, it would be Jim Henson. And out of all the Jim Henson stuff, if you were to ask my mom, what's the one thing what's the one Jim Henson thing that makes you think of Sarah the most? I guarantee you, this would be one of the top things my mother would say reminds her of me would be Labyrinth, because it's my favorite movie, basically, and always has been. Not that I don't have a crap ton of favorites, but that one has always been pretty much near, if not at the top of the list, my entire life. So that one is definitely a me deck. Now, jumping off of the whole David Bowie thing, you guys know what's coming, I'm pretty sure. Starman. This was not one I expected to wind up on this list as a classic for me. I got it mostly because it's kind of pretty. I'll get some use out of it. I kind of like it. Mostly wanted it because I'm a huge David Bowie fan. But the minute I started doing readings with this, it just worked. I can't explain it. It just clicked. The readings were powerful. They were super intuitive. Like this guy. Oh, I got serious, not only heavy metal punk rock 80s vibes, but I got serious vibes of Crow with Brandon Lee because of the bird there. And, by the way, he was one of my first celeb crushes was Brandon Lee in The Crow. But if I had had one before that, and before I realized what they were, would have been David Bowie as the Goblin King. So this really hit hard, and I've used it for readings with other people, and it's really, I have been pretty astounded by how intuitively I've taken to this deck. I didn't think I would, because it's very Tothy, it's very cerebral, it's very 70s, far out there, psychedelic, very loud, very busy. Not my usual. I didn't think it would be my aesthetic, but I thought I would get some good readings out of it and enjoy it, and I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. It is one of my favorites and not leaving my collection for that reason. And I have to do the next one next because they go together. They have become an inseparable pair. If I were to do Lisa Pepez's hashtag perfect pairs, it would be this one, be the Starman, and the Neon Moon. Now why is this a classic Sarah deck? Because this is the most 80s cyberpunk, just metal, in your face, awesome deck I've ever seen. And again, it gets me back. This takes me back to being a little kid and watching things like Blade Runner and Aliens and Goonies, very Stranger Things, but like the stuff Stranger Things is referencing kind of thing, those kind of vibes. And I've actually used this for a book that I'm writing, was inspired by this. And when you want a deck that tells a story, this tells a story. This talks to me. This never reads for me like a regular tarot deck. It reads like a book. It reads like this is a character and this is what the character is going through. And as a writer, that just instant clicked with me. And I've used it several times for several people because when I want a deck that I don't need to think about, that I can just work with, this one. It's one of them. So that, and the last one is my Ancestor Work deck. That is Druidcraft. You'll have to forgive me. I'm going to do the best I can with this one. Big deck, tiny hands. But we're going to make it work. Yeah. Kind of figured that would happen. But this one is a classic me deck because this kind of, it's my Irish heritage. Like I said, this is my ancestor work. This is when I need to get back to my roots, to my heritage, to my culture. This is the deck I use. I know there are others that work better, or that are in a similar vein and that are really powerful and hard hitting, because this gives me some powerful images. But I can think of several that might be more hard hitting, like Hoodoo Tarot or Dusk to Onyx. But I didn't feel right trying to use those for ancestor connections. I just didn't. It almost felt appropriative, which I realized, maybe the creators of the deck wouldn't see it that way, but that didn't feel right. This did. The minute I picked this up, this is right. This is when I need my ancestors to kick my butt and, tell me, get up off the floor and do what you need to do. That's the deck I go to. And it's kind of a classic me deck just because, again, this is my culture. It's my heritage kind of in a deck. And one of my favorite artists, Will Warrington, or is it Worthington? I'm blanking on the name. I'm so sorry. But he's one of my favorite tarot artists, and he did this, as well as the 2 oracle decks that I use with it when I use it with an oracle deck. But, yeah. Those are my classics. These are these all. The Neon Moon is usually like right in the little thing behind me, but the rest of these don't leave my tarot thing. It's kind of behind the screen here. You can't see it, but I have a caddy. And then right next to it, I have my Starman tarot set up in this box, and then the box that holds my RWS. These all go right here, and don't leave it. Honestly, if I had a neat way to store the Neon Moon up here, I would. But it would probably wind up having to go where I have my Ogham set, and I really don't want to move it from where it is because I like where it is. So one of these days I'm going to figure it out. Neon Moon's going up here too. But anyway, those are my favorites. Those are my classics. These are the ones that most of them you will see me use and go to if I have to do a reading for myself or for anybody, or to give them just kind of a feel of me. It's these decks here. Thank you for sticking around this far. I appreciate it. Everybody, please be safe. Have a wonderful day. I'm glad you stopped by. If you like this video or if you're enjoying the content, please, by all means, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. I'd love to hear more from you, and I just hope you all have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye.